Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Virgo, I need you to stop. I need you to actually stop what you are doing and come sit with me for a moment because I went into your energy today and something was waiting for me there. Something that made me laugh out loud and tear up at the same time in the specific and overwhelming way of something that is so good, so undeniably good, that the only available response is the kind that uses your whole body and your whole heart all at once. I have been reading energy for a long time, and I want you to understand something about what I'm about to tell you. Before I tell you, so that you receive it in the full weight of what it actually is, rather than in the smaller and more manageable form that you sometimes allow yourself to receive good things in, because the full size of good things has not always felt safe to let in completely. What is in your energy right now is extraordinary, and I do not use that word casually. I use it in the specific and earned form of someone who knows the difference between ordinary and extraordinary, because I have been in enough energy to know what each one feels like when it is present in someone's field and what is in yours right now is extraordinary. Welcome, my beautiful soul, and get ready because congratulations are in order. Before I tell you what the announcement is, I need to tell you something about you first, because this cannot land correctly if I do not say this first in the full and direct form that it deserves. I feel the specific weight that you have been carrying in the period that preceded this moment, the particular kind of tiredness that does not come from physical exhaustion alone, but from the specific form of emotional and spiritual carrying that happens when someone keeps going day after day without the visible and proportionate return that the going deserves in the externally affirmed and acknowledged form that most people need to feel that what they are doing matters and is building towards something, rather than simply continuing in the form of someone who keeps going, because stopping feels worse than continuing, even when continuing is heavy. I feel that heaviness, and I feel what it has cost you in the specific and quiet form of someone who has been smiling on the outside and holding something much more complicated on the inside in the way that you hold things, which is quietly and without making anyone around you uncomfortable, with the full weight of what you are actually carrying, because that is who you are, in the specific and sometimes costly form of someone who takes care of everyone else's comfort before they attend to the weight of their own. Whew. Spirit is showing me something about the recent period for you, and I need to name it directly because it is the context for the announcement that is coming. And without the context, the announcement sounds like good luck rather than the earned and proportionate result that it actually is. There were moments in the recent period where you wondered if it was worth it, not in the dramatic and crisis form of someone who is at a breaking point, but in the quiet and private form of someone sitting alone at the end of a long day and asking themselves, in the honest interior of a tired mind, is this actually going somewhere? Or am I just spinning? In the form of someone who keeps going. Without the evidence that the going is producing what the going is supposed to produce. You had that moment more than once. In the recent period, and you kept going anyway. Not because you were certain, but because stopping felt like the wrong answer. Even when the continuing was uncertain and sometimes lonely and sometimes exhausting in the particular way of someone who is maintaining something without the external support that the maintaining deserves from the world around them. That continuing in the uncertain and lonely and sometimes exhausting form it took in the recent period is what produced the announcement that is arriving now in the unexpected and extraordinary form that the accumulation of that specific kind of continuing always eventually produces for the person who kept going when the evidence was insufficient and the support was inadequate and the certain answer was unavailable, but who kept going anyway in the quiet and determined form of someone who simply does not stop, even when stopping would be understandable to anyone who was watching and who knew the full weight of what the continuing was costing. Now I want to tell you about the announcement. In the specific and joyful form that this reading has been building toward, from the moment I entered your energy today and felt the extraordinary quality of what is sitting in your field right now, waiting to be expressed in the real and visible and arriving form of the unexpected thing that is about to land in your life. But first, I need to acknowledge something. That spirit is showing me about the specific form your doubts have been taking in the recent period because I feel them in your energy and I will not skip past them as if they were not there, simply because the good news is so good that it would be easy to rush past the honest part. In the excitement of delivering the congratulations, you have had the specific thought that maybe you were not as far along as you thought, that the thing you were working toward was taking longer than it should, and that longer than it should might mean something uncomfortable about whether it was going to happen at all in the form you were still quietly hoping it would happen, even after the quieter hoping replaced the loud hoping that the early period of the waiting produced. Before the waiting went on long enough that the loud hoping became unsustainable and was replaced by the quieter form that costs less per day and hurts less when the confirmation does not arrive on any particular day because the hoping is quiet enough to not produce the full weight of the disappointment that the loud hoping would produce when the confirmation does not arrive on the day it was hoped for. Spirit wants me to say this to you directly, and I am going to say it in the most direct form available. The longer was not a sign that it was not coming. The longer was the preparation for the form it needed to take to be what it actually is, rather than what an earlier version of it would have been if it had arrived before the preparation was complete. What arrives for you now in the announcement form is more complete and more proportionate to you specifically, and more lasting than what would have arrived earlier. If the preparation had been shorter and the timing less patient, and the longer had not happened in the form it took to produce this specific version of the arrival that is now incoming, in the unexpected and extraordinary form that the preparation made possible, you were not watching. That is the unexpected quality of it. Not that it is coming, but from where it is coming, because you have been watching certain directions for the evidence that things are moving in the form you have been hoping they would move, and the announcement is not arriving from those directions. It is arriving from the direction you stopped watching, or never thought to watch, or dismissed as unlikely, in the specific and honest assessment that you make of situations when you are being realistic with yourself about what is and is not probable in the specific circumstances of your life. Right now, that dismissed or unwatched direction is the direction the announcement is coming from, and the unexpected quality of it arriving from there is the big fat congratulations quality of something that arrives from where you were not looking, and therefore arrives with the full and genuine surprise of something that was not seen coming before it arrived and changed the shape of things in the forward moving and life altering form of an unexpected announcement. Spirit is showing me what the announcement is about in the approximate and energy-based form that this kind of reading produces, and I want to deliver it as specifically as I can without losing the honest form of what I am actually reading versus what I am filling in with the hopeful additions that readings sometimes include when the reader is not being rigorous about the difference between what is reading and what is hoping. What I am reading is recognition in the material and professional dimension of your life, something that was submitted or presented or offered, or that has been in process or consideration or development in the background of your current circumstances, without necessarily being the thing you were most focused on. In the recent period, or expecting to produce results at this particular moment, rather than at some later point, when more preparation or more time or more of whatever it was waiting for had been provided, that background thing is about to announce itself in the foreground in the form of a yes or an approval or a recognition or an opportunity that arrives with the specific quality of finally that unexpectedly arrived things always carry when they have been in process longer than the person waiting for them had been consciously counting because they had stopped counting or redirected their counting energy to the more actively watched directions that were not the direction this was coming from. I also feel something in the relational dimension of your energy that is connected to the announcement, and that is arriving in a form that I want to name directly because it is part of the big fat congratulations that this reading is delivering today. Someone is about to say something to you in the specific and significant form of something that changes the label or the definition, or the named and declared form of what the connection between you has been without the naming and the declaring. That this announcement is about to provide in the unexpected and moving form of something that arrives before you expected it, and that answers questions you had stopped asking because the asking had become more expensive than the silence of not asking and simply continuing in the unnamed form of whatever was between you without the declaration that is now arriving in the announcement form that the big fat congratulations is about. Spirit keeps showing me your face in the specific moment the announcement arrives. And I want to describe what I see because it is the most moving part of this reading. For me, as the person delivering it to you today, what I see is the specific expression of someone who receives something that they had quietly given up hoping for, in the form they had hoped for it. When the hoping was fresh and available, and before the hoping was replaced by the more sustainable form of simply continuing without the specific hope that had been expensive, in the way that unconfirmed hope always eventually becomes expensive. For someone who has been hoping long enough that the hoping starts to cost more, then the calm of not hoping quite so specifically, that expression, when the thing arrives, after you had quietly stopped hoping in quite that form, is the expression that deserves the congratulations. Not just for receiving the good thing, but for having continued through the period of not receiving it. I also want to speak about something that Spirit is specifically emphasizing for this reading because it is the part that I feel most strongly in your energy right now, and that deserves its own direct attention. Before the congratulations closes this message, the people around you who did not believe in the thing you were building, or who were skeptical, or who offered the well-meaning but deflating form of concern that sometimes arrives from the people who love us, but who cannot yet see what we can see about what we are building and where it is going, and who express their love in the worrying form of someone who is not sure the thing you are building is going to produce what you believe it is going to produce. And who says so? In whatever specific and well-intentioned form their concern takes, when it arrives in your life as the additional weight of someone you love not quite believing in the thing you are committed to, those people are about to see the announcement too, and what they feel when the announcement arrives and is visible to everyone who is watching your life from whatever proximity they occupy, is something I want you to be prepared for, because it arrives in two forms. simultaneously, and both of them are real. And both of them deserve your generous reception in the full and understanding form of someone who knows what it looks like from inside to watch someone you love receive something extraordinary. When you were privately afraid, they might not. The first form is genuine joy, the real and uncomplicated happiness of people who love you, seeing you receive what you deserve in the full and visible form of the announcement that is coming. The second form is the specific and somewhat uncomfortable feeling of someone who was not quite sure and who is now sure, and who is processing in real time the update that the announcement requires of the belief they had. That was not quite big enough for what the announcement is showing is actually possible for you in the real and arriving form of the big fat congratulations that this reading has been building toward. Receive both forms generously because both of them are love in different stages of its processing of something it did not quite see coming for the person it loves, and that is now arriving in the form that requires the updating of the belief that was not quite big enough to match what the announcement is delivering for you specifically right now in the specific and practical form of someone who is preparing to receive something significant from the direction they were not watching, in the unexpected and extraordinary form of the big fat congratulations that is literally on its way to the specific person reading this message at this specific moment in the flow of their specific day. Get ready means do not talk yourself out of it when it arrives in the form that it arrives in, which may be different from the form you would have expected if you had been expecting it, rather than receiving it unexpectedly from the unwatched direction. Get ready means say yes, without the immediate and habitual qualifications that your realistic and grounded self will immediately begin to produce in the form of all the reasons that this might not be as good as it seems, or as lasting as it appears, or as proportionate to what you deserve, as the honest and accurate assessment of your own worth would suggest it should be before you have received it fully and let it be what it actually is, rather than what the qualifications say it probably is. Just say yes and let the big fat congratulations be as big and as fat as it is actually arriving to be for the specific person who earned it in the quiet and continuing and uncertain form of the period that preceded this moment, and who deserves to receive it fully in the full and extraordinary and life-altering form that the announcement is arriving in from the unwatched direction that spirit was always pointing toward, even when you could not see the pointing. In the visible and confirmed form, that would have made the waiting easier, but that was not yet available until now. Congratulations, my beautiful soul. In the full and specific and deserved form of the big fat congratulations that this reading was always going to deliver to the specific person who kept going when going was uncertain, and who is now in the position of receiving what the going produced in the unexpected and extraordinary form of the announcement that is arriving from the direction you stopped watching, and that is about to change the shape of things in the complete and irreversible form of something significant having finally arrived. Whew. Get ready. It is closer than you think, and bigger than you expect, and yours. Completely and entirely yours.